Okay, the next step is we need to define output areas. And one of the possible ways that I can do that is I can go up to process, select an area, and I digitize a box that represents the output area. And very similar to other processes, everything inside that box is going to be my output. However, it's not common to select a single area of output because we have a lot of pixels in these imagery. And we have to be careful to stay under a 4 GB file size limitation for the TIFF format. So these are 1/4 foot pixels. If I try to output this entire project in one single mosaic, I'm probably going to exceed that 4 GB file size limitation. It's more common to actually break the output into tiles. I've heard people call them map sheets. I think in the software we just call it output tiles. But I need to define, instead of one big output area, I'd actually like to get multiple output areas just to make sure that our mosaic orthos stay under file size limitation. And that's done under the Tiles tab. In the project dialog, go ahead and select the Tiles tab. And here we'll have to use some of the icons because they're not available in the main window right here. But the second icon from the left, it has a green plus in it. If you hover over it, it will say create a new TSP tile definition. And so what we want to do is we want to create new tiles to do this. So I'll go ahead and click on its icon. And first thing it does is it wants us to, what do you want to name the tiles? Here's my one that I did on Friday as I was just kind of previewing all of this. I'm going to go ahead and override it, but you can name your tile file specification whatever you want. I just kind of keep it simple. And so what I do is I save the tile definition in my OrthoMaster Orthos directory, and I just call it tiles. And OrthoVista, good catch. I was in the wrong folder. OrthoVista. Yep. So after you create the new tile definition and you tell it where do you want to save it and what name, you get an additional dialog box that pulls up. And what I'll do is I'll kind of put it in the corner right here. And the way that this does is that the way that this dialog works is the very first thing you need to do is you need to specify a reference point in the project. And that is you're going to build these tiles based on the reference point. So what I can do is I click on the field right here. I just clicked on the X field so that it's now selected and my cursor's blinking in there. And then wherever I click in the project, that's going to be its reference point. So what I'll probably do is let me click like right in the middle, right in the center. I'll do a click and it now gives me a reference point in the project units of where I just clicked, which I just did the center of the project. The next thing I need to do is a tile size, and these are in your project unit, so in our case it'll be survey feet. So each of these tiles I can say, for example, let's go 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet in the tile size. And I won't do the tile skip, it's not common to do that. So 1,000 by 1,000 tile size. And then that brings us down to this dialog, part of the dialog where we have the tile count. And what this is doing is this is creating the number of tiles north of the reference point, east, south, west. So right now, by default, I've got one tile to the east and one tile to the south of my reference point. So if I were to go ahead and click OK right now, there's one tile. One tile. My reference point was actually in this upper corner right here. Okay. Well, one tile is not enough. So how about I take east and I say, let me add a second tile to the east. or a second tile to the south, and then when I click apply, now it gives me 2 tiles. Okay, and again, it's based off of this reference point that we just digitized in the center of the project. If I want to add a tile to the north of the reference point and then to the west, no problem, I can do that. So I go north 1, west 1, and then when I hit apply, this dialog comes up. I just put it on another screen. It's okay. Okay, so where I have my cursor is my reference point. So I've got tiles to the north, and I've got 1 row of tiles to the west, and I've got 2 tiles to the east and south. So this is sort of how you build your sort of grid of output tiles. And then at this point, what I might do is start adjusting the tile size to see if I can get everything to fit in maybe like a 9 tiles, a 3x3 grid tile size. So I will adjust my tile size. I will change the 1000 to 1500, and then when I click apply, they're now expanded, and so I'm starting to get kind of an idea of where these output areas are going to be. For visibility purposes only, I'm going to turn those borders off, the red borders, using the icon in the right. They're kind of distracting me a little bit, so I'm going to turn that off. I find that working with a reference point in the center of the project, I find it might be a little cumbersome, a little difficult to do. My preference is to actually pick the project corner and use that as a reference point, and then just kind of work everything in one direction. So I can redefine the reference point at any time by putting the cursor in the reference point dialog, and now I go into the project area, and wherever I click again, it's going to update that as the reference point. My preference is to go into this upper left corner right here. So with my reference point waiting for me to take a measurement, I go to the upper left corner, and I do a data click, and it is now updated the coordinates of my reference point, and I need to hit the apply on the dialog for it to sort of take effect. And there we go. I just changed its origin now. So now that my origin is in the upper left corner of the project, I no longer need the tiles on the north, and I no longer need the tiles on the west. So I'm going to go into the tile count dialog and set north and west back to 0, and then apply. And now I've back to a 2x2 grid, 2 tiles to the east, 2 tiles to the south of my new reference point in the upper right corner. So if I want to do a 3x3 tile, I probably, let's change the east to 3 and the south to 3, and let's see what that gives me in terms of coverage. Okay, so now I need to make my tile sizes a little bit bigger. So how about we go, instead of 1500, let's see what a 2000 foot by 2000 foot tile size does. So I'll make that change in the dialog, and then I'll hit the apply button. And now I'm getting actually pretty close here to covering this entire area here. Let's see, maybe 2200 by 2200. Will that give me full coverage here? I key that in to the tile size, and then I hit apply. Oh, now I've kind of gone back. I'm kind of gone beyond. How about 2100 and 2100? Okay, I'm fit pretty good side by side, but on the bottom I've got some here. I can simply do a right now I'm doing a square for an output area. I could actually do more of a rectangular. So oh, that was the wrong parameter. I needed Y to be 2000 pixels. So here's a slightly rectangular. Okay, now I have it. If I need to scooch the whole tiles, I just redefine the reference point. So if I wanted to maybe scoot things a little bit down, better alignment, I just click on reference point, and then where I digitize where I click upper left corner, I'm just going to move it down a little bit. So I click, and then when I hit apply, should shift it a little bit down. So this is my preferred way to draw the output tiles. It's just kind of hand drawing, kind of nudging them in a little bit, getting them to fit. Some people like square tiles. Other people are not bothered by having rectangular tiles. It's simply whatever your preference is going to be. Okay, I'm going to give mine a final apply if I haven't done it yet. So these changes in that tile.tsp file that we created. So if I were to redo this project, reuse things, instead of creating a new file, I can go to the far left icon with the green arrow and I can actually just load it from a file. But usually you don't have the tiles defined right at the beginnings, which is why we got to create a new one. If I decide later I need to come back and make modifications to these tiles, that's the third icon. Edit the selected tile definition only. So if I select that, it just brings me back to the tile editor. And oh, I need to select the tile file, then open it. And I'm just back to this dialog here where I can make changes. So this icon, third one from the left, will allow you to edit an existing tiles once you've closed this dialog. Yeah, the first one allows you to bring in a file, and we're using a TSP by default right here. If you have the tiles defined as a shapefile, you can bring in them here. It also takes a text file, but it's a little bit tricky setting it up on a text file because, and we'll just cover that actually right now. So if I look at the tiles.tsp that we created, you can see it's actually a very simple text file. Open it with Notepad++. So it gives you the corner of the tile, how big is it, and then how many do you want to skip. So if you want to create it using this, you can do it, but I find it's easier to do it interactively. But for people who are willing to do this via text file, that's what that option is in the import. That's why it's one of the options of import as a text file, but it's not very common at all to do it. You're either doing the TSP file you created in the OrthoVista software, or you're taking a shape file in from another software that you created them. We will talk about in a moment what this edited flag does once we actually run the orthos, but that's it for the tiles. I'm sorry, one more thing we need to do for the tiles. Just like images in ortho areas, they need to be set to an active status in order to be output. And so in the tiles list, what I will do is I will select all of the tiles, and then there is an icon right above it. It's a white rectangle with a blue rectangle on the bottom. That icon is marking all of the selected tiles for output. And when I do that, the screen should go green. And this means that these tiles are now flagged for output.